The morning mist had just begun to rise above the quiet shoreline when the old fisherman, Rami, woke up to another uncertain day. He lived alone in a small wooden hut near the sea, so close that the waves sometimes whispered against his door at night. Life had never been easy for Rami, but he carried his hardships the way he carried his fishing net, with quiet strength and a kind of patient acceptance. Still, lately the sea had grown stingy. Days passed with barely a fish to show, and his worn net seemed to bring back more disappointment than hope. One gray dawn, after several empty mornings, Rami sat on a smooth rock by the shore, staring at the tangled threads of his net. The ropes were frayed, the knots loose, and many of the weights had rusted from the moisture of the sea. He knew he needed to fix it, but after so many long days and quiet failures, even a simple task felt heavier than before. Rami sighed, letting the breeze brush against his tired face. "Maybe the sea has forgotten me," he whispered to himself. As he gathered the net to repair it back at his hut, he noticed faint footprints in the wet sand, small and delicate, unlike the larger prints he often saw from travelers or wandering children. Curiosity tugged at him. The prints led toward a cluster of rocks at the far end of the beach, half hidden by morning fog. Rami followed them. When he rounded the corner of the rocks, he froze. A young girl, perhaps no older than 10, sat curled beside a shallow tide pool. Her clothes were dusty, her hair uncombed, and her feet bare and cold. She hugged her knees tightly, as if trying to make herself disappear. Rami approached slowly so he wouldn't frighten her. "Are you lost?" he asked softly. The girl lifted her head but didn't speak. Her dark eyes looked tired, too tired for a child. Rami knelt beside her, setting his bundle of net down. "My name is Rami," he said. "I live just beyond that hill. It's safe there." Still no answer. He noticed her shivering. Without waiting, he unwrapped his old cloth shawl and draped it gently over her shoulders. Only then did she whisper, I didn't mean to come here. Where is home?" Rami asked. The girl shook her head. "I don't want to go back. Not yet." Rami sensed that pressing her would only make her retreat further into silence. "Then let's sit for a moment," he said kindly. "The sea is good company in the morning." They sat together, watching the tide shift like a sleeping creature breathing in and out. After a while, the girl spoke again, quietly, as if testing whether her voice still worked. "My name is Mira," she said. Rami smiled. "It's a beautiful name." Mira looked at the net in his hands. "It looks broken. Everything breaks a little when life gets heavy," Rami replied. "The trick is learning how to fix things slowly." Mira traced patterns in the sand with her finger. "I don't know how to fix anything." Rami gently held up the net so she could see the tangled knots. "Well," he said, "I was planning to repair this today. Maybe we can learn together." Mira hesitated, then nodded, so they walked back to Rami's hut. Inside, it smelled of dried herbs and sea salt. Rami began teaching her the first simple knots: how to loop the thread, how to pull it steady, how to tie it firm but not too tight. Mira watched carefully, imitating his movements. She wasn't perfect. Her hands trembled at first, but Rami never corrected her harshly. He guided her one step at a time, letting her learn at her own pace. Hours passed, and the old net slowly began to look whole again. At midday, Rami cooked a small meal from what little he had: a bit of bread, a bowl of boiled grains, and warm herbal tea. Mira ate quietly but gratefully, as if she hadn't had a warm meal in days. After they finished, she finally spoke more freely. "I ran away," she confessed. "People say I'm stubborn, that I don't listen, that I always cause trouble. Maybe they're right." Rami looked at her with gentle eyes. "Children aren't meant to be perfect, Mira. They're meant to learn. But what if I never learn?" Rami held up the net again. "This net was useless this morning. Look at it now. Not perfect, but stronger." Myra's expression softened, as if she were seeing herself in the woven strands. By late afternoon, the net was ready. Rami stood and stretched his tired back. "Shall we try it?" he asked. The two of them walked back to the shoreline. The sun had begun its descent, painting gold across the water. Rami stepped into the gentle waves, Mira following close behind. Together, they cast the mended net into the sea. For a moment they waited. Then, to Myra's amazement, the net tugged. Rami pulled with steady strength. When the net broke the surface, it sparkled, full of silver fish wriggling in the fading sunlight. Myra's face lit up with pure wonder. It worked, Rami laughed. A net woven with patience always works. As they walked back to the hunt, Mira looked at the rope-wrapped net she had helped repair. Do you think, she began, people can be fixed too? Rami answered without hesitation. People aren't broken, Mira. They're just tangled sometimes. And just like a net, they become stronger when someone helps them find the right knots. Mira thought about this for a long moment. Then she said softly, maybe it's time for me to go home. Rami nodded. And when things feel heavy again, come back to the shore. The sea never refuses a visitor. Before leaving, Mira handed him something small, a tiny seashell she had tucked in her pocket. It's not much, she said, but it's the only thing I had with me. Rami accepted it with deep gratitude. Thank you, Mira. I'll keep it. The girl took one last look at the shoreline, then walked toward the path that led back to the world she had fled from. Her steps were still small, but no longer uncertain. Rami watched her disappear into the soft evening mist. As he returned to his hut, the seashell warm in his hand, he felt something he hadn't felt in months, hope. That night, as the waves whispered gently against his door, Rami hung the mended net carefully on its wooden hook, not just as a tool, but as a reminder. Some knots in life are meant to be untied together.